Hello, Framingham. It's almost time to kick back and relax and begin to celebrate Labor Day weekend. People usually celebrate Labor Day weekend with barbecues, parties, family get-togethers. However, this year needs to be a little different. Framingham is now considered to be in the red zone because we've had an uptick in our COVID cases. Please do your part this Labor Day weekend to avoid large gatherings and parties. Wash your hands for 20 seconds with warm soapy water and practice social distancing and disinfect surfaces. And one of the most important things you can do is mask up. You have the power to save a life. Wearing a cloth face covering protects your friends, your family, and you. Stay safe and healthy, Framingham.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Framingham. This is show number 16 and I'm recording this on September 8th, 2020, and we have a number of things to go over the show here real quick. Probably the first thing to talk about is the fact that we are now that Framingham is now a red zone. Bring up a article here on the Metro West Daily News. Framingham numbers suggest coronavirus Redstone tag here to stay. This was published back on the 1st of September. In addition to 27 new infections since Friday, the city reported that another resident had died after contracting the virus, bringing Framingham's pandemic death toll to 124 people. Last week, the state for the first time classified Framingham as a community at high risk for coronavirus transmission. On Monday, the city received its newest coronavirus numbers, which suggest the red zone designation is here to stay for at least another week. Framingham's 2-week daily average of new cases per 100,000 people will still be in the double digits at 7.9. The city's positivity rate, or percent of residents tested for COVID-19 who got a positive result, has jumped to 3.38% from 2.78% on August 26th. And in addition to the 27 new infections since Friday, the city has reported another resident has died after contracting the virus. So that's why the mayor obviously has started this campaign to try to really get people to not get together in groups. I think the state has a restriction of no more than 25 people, but really even family get-togethers and things like that for Labor Day weekend, which is already passed, but really should be reconsidered. I wanted to share, there are 3 testing sites now here in Framingham as of the 8th. And I'll put up the addresses here in a second here. The first site is here. It's hard to see behind there. COVID testing site. This one is the one that Staples just recently opened. It opened September 3rd. It'll be open till the 30th. There's no appointment needed, and it's a drive-through. And I'll read a story about that in a second. The second one is the one at the Smock at 7th Bishop Street, Framingham. That one's a walk-up one. And the third one is the one at Amazing Things Art Center, which is also a walk-up. So the story behind the Staples one here, open it up. Is that, let's see. People do not need an appointment or health insurance to be tested, and Framingham residents with or without COVID symptoms are encouraged to take advantage of the site while it's open. This is from the Metro West Daily News as well. A new free drive-through coronavirus test site will open Thursday at Staples headquarters, 500 Staples Drive in Framingham, city officials announced. The site will be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. each weekday starting Thursday and continuing through to Friday, September 11th, according to the city's Tuesday press release. According to their city's website, by the way, it's going to be until September 30th. The site, as well as both the city walk-up sites, will not be open this coming Monday with Labor Day, which just passed. People who People do not need an appointment or health insurance to be tested, and Framingham residents with or without COVID-19 symptoms are encouraged to take advantage of the test site while it's open. People without access to a vehicle can also be tested at the city's walk-ups test sites located at the South Middlesex Opportunity Council, SMOC, or the Bishop Street or the Amazing Things Art Center on Hollis Street. The testing at the SMOC is available from 3 to 6 p.m. And the Amazing Things one is also 3 to 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you definitely do want to double check because I didn't put the times that they're open. I just put the date ranges. You'll want to check before you go to make sure that it's open. Framingham Public Health Director Sam Wong said the city has been looking for a suitable site to host a drive-through testing location for weeks. A similar site at Keefe Regional Technical School closed in late August ahead of the school's anticipated reopening. Traffic issues and businesses' reopening plans have made it difficult to find a good drive-through location in the city. Last week, the state classified Framingham as a community at high risk of coronavirus transmission. Increased testing is one of the city's primary strategies for controlling the spread of the virus. Well, obviously, if you know you have coronavirus, it makes it a lot easier for you to take the measures to prevent getting others infected as well. Another item that came out today was a tentative agreement reached for the upcoming school year. This is a press release from the Framingham School Department. Labor Day is the Framingham Public Schools more than a day off. It's recognition of the labor movement and the values of collaboration between stakeholders in support of our shared educational mission. It's only fitting that after more than a month of negotiations that today, Labor Day, we are pleased to announce that we have reached a tentative agreement on the Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, for the upcoming school year. The MOA covers the topics of health and safety, air quality and HVAC systems, personal protective equipment, physical distancing and personal hygiene, cleaning protocols, restructuring practices to reduce risk, work year schedule and school calendar, remote phase including teleworking agreements and teachers and learning expectations, hybrid phase including the teachers and learning expectations, leaves and evaluations. So there's a whole Return to Learn 2020. So they're going to be starting school up on the 16th. And every student, from what I understand, is going to be issued a Chromebook, which is a little different than last year because I know that students that had laptops at home were able to use those. But it looks like this fall they're going to be issuing Chromebooks for all students, which I think makes it easier for troubleshooting purposes because everybody will have the same basic setup, and the instructions, the remote instructions will all make sense regardless of who you are. You'll all have the same equipment. I know that the week of coming back after Labor Day, they are doing a drop-off where you can drop off library books and any other school property that you need to return, and then the week after will be the week that they start distributing the Chromebooks. So you'll definitely want to check that out and find out when and where you'll need to either do the drop-off or the pickup for whatever materials you need. I think they're also distributing some other materials. I'm not too sure on that. I'll try to find out for later in the show. So this came out on the 7th. It came out from Dr. Tremblay, and that was sent out to, I think, all of the parents in the Framingham school system. We have a number of other events coming up in the month of September. Let's see. There is the League of Women Voters is doing 2 live shows dealing with the 2 ballot questions on the November ballot. The first one coming up, I believe, is on the 12th, September 12th at 4 p.m. It will be on Facebook Live and Access Framingham Live, and you can submit your questions in advance or ask them in the through the Facebook page, And that one will be on the right to repair question. It'll be 30 minutes. They'll have the pro angle and the against angle. They'll be moderated by Jim Pillsbury and sponsored by the League of Women Voters. So you'll definitely want to check that out when that comes up later this week. And there'll be another event 2 weeks after that. I can't remember the exact date. It's the same Saturday. Give me a second here. That would be on the 26th at 4 p.m. on the other ballot question, which escapes my memory right now, which it was. But when we come back from the commercial, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. So we've got more here on Focus on Framingham, so stay with us. And we're back. Two things I just wanted to clarify. One was that the second question on the ballot coming up in November is the ranked choice voting initiative. And the League of Women Voters are going to do a show about this on September 22nd, live on Access Framingham at 4 p.m. So if you have any questions about that, you can tune into that. It'll also be on Facebook Live. The other thing I wanted to mention was if you're a parent and you have a student in the Framingham Public Schools and you wanted them to do the entirely at home curriculum, you actually have to fill out some forms for that. And they did send out information about that. So you might want to ask your principal or any contact you have at the school more information on that, because it's not apparently done automatically, or they don't assume that one way or the other. So you want to definitely check in on that before school starts. So with that, we're going to go to our interview now. Oh, there we go. And our interview today is with Patricia Hohl. She is with Voices Against Violence. And as you'll recall, back in April, we had on Stephanie Deely from the same organization. And today we're going to have Patricia on to talk about a few different things. So welcome to the show, Patricia.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's really wonderful to be here.
So we talked a little bit about this with Stephanie back in April, but a long time has passed since then, and COVID hasn't gone away. And I was wondering if you wanted to just touch on how domestic violence and sexual assault victims are dealing in this time of COVID-19, and how the Voices Against Violence is helping with that.
Oh, sure. Thank you. It's a really tough time. It's hard for everybody, but just imagine what it's like if you're a victim of domestic violence and you've had to shelter with your abuser 24/7. A lot of abusers have been affected by the employment situation, so they're not working. So the victims aren't getting the break that they normally might get when they would go out to work. Oftentimes children are now home from school, so it's an incredibly stressful time, which makes it a really dangerous time, because those kinds of added pressures of employment and having children around, never mind this horrifying pandemic, really increase the chances of violence and increase the level of violence. So for domestic violence victims, it's just incredibly stressful, and our numbers reflect that. There's a lot of people who are reaching out, often at odd times of the night, because that's the only time that they can get a phone to themselves and not be overheard. And we've tried to put things in place that help with that, and I can mention that in a minute. And even for sexual assault victims, this is not an easy time. They are across the state, probably the country, not going to hospitals when they are sexually assaulted, which they're petrified. They're scared to go to a hospital. They're scared of catching COVID. And of course, that means that they're not getting the medical care that they might need, and they're not getting the medications they might need. When a rape victim shows up at a hospital, they're always given, prophylactic doses of medication to prevent any sexually transmitted diseases or HIV. And it also means that the rape kits aren't being done. So that evidence now won't exist, which will make it hard, if not impossible, to hold offenders accountable.
Wow.
So it's a really difficult and challenging time. It's hard for people to be able to leave to go to shelter. We had someone call our hotline that was admitted to our shelter because she was in a very dangerous situation, and it took her 2 days to get out of her house because the abuser was there all the time. And she waited until he got in the shower, grabbed her car keys, and ran, and showed up at our shelter program in her pajamas and slippers with nothing else. It was pretty sad. So it's a very stressful time for people going through this.
So I have some of the information here that you provided, ways for victims to get help through Voices Against Violence Framingham. It looks like so anybody can just text to this number here from any cell phone?
Absolutely. So we have been working remotely since the middle of March, so about 6 months now. We've been able to provide all the services that we've always provided. It's actually going very well. But we did realize that because it could be hard for people to pick up that phone and call us when they need, we, in addition to our hotline, which you see there, which is a 24/7 number, we put in a couple of other services and platforms that will make it easier if someone can't speak on the phone. Mm-hmm. So one of them is the web chat that you see, which is rc.chat/voices, where people can just put that into their computer and they will get into an instantaneous chat with one of our advocates. And for those who can use their phones and text, because sometimes that's easier for people, we did set up a confidential chat service where they'll be directly connected to an advocate and be able to get what they need at that top number.
Yeah, I think Stephanie mentioned that chat service, the rc.chat, which you'd put into any browser, it doesn't keep any history. So if the victim is concerned with being caught or any confidential information in there, it's all erased once they close the browser out. So I thought I thought that was
and of course that's not the case with texting. We didn't put the text in place until about a month later. We had to think very hard about whether that was a safe thing to do for people, but the decision that we came down to was, victims really know their own safety and know whether it's safe for them to be texting us or not. And so many people have the access to texts, and so many people are very comfortable with it that we decided that we really needed to put that in place.
Okay. So coming up later this month, it sounds like you have an event coming up. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, thank you. We have our annual Purple Passion 5K, which is a walk and a race. It's a 5K that people can run and time themselves on. It's a casual run if you just want to run casually and not be entered for a medal, or it's a walk. It's a 3K walk. So it's all virtual this year. It's our only fundraiser that we do, and it's super important to support the services that we're providing. This money goes directly to our direct services that we're giving to victims. It goes right to our shelter program to keep a roof over their heads in a safe place and to provide them with food and oftentimes transportation when they can't get to our shelter. It also supports our prevention programs, and this is a very important piece of our work because we know sometimes the best way to support a victim is to prevent the violence from happening. So we take prevention very seriously. We're in almost a dozen schools now, providing workshops and seminars to young people on bystander intervention and how you handle it if you have a friend who's going through something.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is that here in the Framingham schools?
Yep, in Framingham and several other schools in the region. It's really a wonderful program. Yeah, it talks about healthy relationships and talks about all these confusing messages that the media gives young people around gender identity and relationships. And so the younger we can get into these schools, the better. And our goal is to get into every school in every city and town that we represent. So, that's what the Purple Passion funds, and it's just, as our only fundraiser, a really important event for us every year. So we made the decision to go virtual, and it's going really well. Registrations are great. Yes, there you can sign up to register or donate, or form a team or join a team at voices.purplepassion5k.org.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to be, we're trying to keep it as easy as possible. So at that one website is where you can register or donate. And if you are going to register for the walk, people who have, they'll be getting a series of emails next week that's going to explain how to pick up your T-shirts and your swag bags. We're going to do all that contactless in the back parking mock. Everybody will be masked and gloved, and we'll have things that people can just pick up themselves. So we're keeping it very safe. And then if you are interested in doing a time, because we will be, this has been designated a Grand Prix race by the Greater Framingham Running Club, and there's a couple other running clubs that are involved as well. So if you're taking part in that, we're trying to make it simple, and there'll be a Google Doc you can link to, go out and run your run. We have a series of apps that you can get on your phone that will track your time and track your distance, so you're running the right distance. And then what you do is we're gonna kick off at 7:30 in the morning, because that's what we do when we're live. It was always a very early race. We'll kick off at 7:30. We'll have some speeches. A lot of our elected officials are joining us to by video mostly to talk a little bit. And then we'll kick the race off at 8 o'clock. So when you come back, if you're going to be in a timed category, and there's 14 different age categories that we'll be awarding medals to first place winners, male and female, in those 14 categories, all you have to do is click on a Google document, and enter your time, your name, your time, a couple of other pieces of information like your gender, and we will tally all that and be able to announce the winners, the first and second place winners in all those categories, probably between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. We're working those details out. So we're trying to keep it as much like the race was when we were all doing it in person. We'll certainly miss the energy of being in that parking lot and being all together, but it's like I said, it's been going really well, and people seem excited, and people want to help support our work. So we've been really grateful.
That is great. And it seems like it's a little, even in some ways, maybe more convenient for people to join the running part, because they can just do it at home in their own convenience. So it sounds like you guys have really adapted to the COVID situation well. And
we have had to be, flexible like Gumby, I like to say. The Voices team has really had to be on their toes, and they've just come through so wonderfully, because this work matters so very much to each and every one of them. And it was just our number one goal to make sure that people were going to be continue to be safe, and nobody was going to fall through the cracks. And now we're trying to spend a Saturday morning raising the money to support that.
And is there a deadline for the sign-up?
Registrations are open, I think, right through Friday at noon.
Friday, this would be the week leading up to it. The event,
Yes.
The event itself is on which day?
The 19th.
The 19th. Yep. Okay.
So registration.
Okay, Saturday the 19th. So the whole week of the 14th through the 18th of September, you can sign up. It sounds like.
Right, but I do want to say we're going to be distributing T-shirts, I believe, on Thursday the 17th and Friday the 18th, at designated times. And if you are registered, you'll get an email on what those times are going to be and how you show up and how you get your stuff. Like I said, it's all contactless. So the earlier you register, the better, so that you don't miss out on that. Because if you wait until Friday at noon to register, you're not going to be able to participate in that. So.
Okay. And I'm just doing a little work here so we can close out the show here. My apologies. If you're not familiar with my show, I'm kind of a one-man operation here, so I do all the switching and everything.
No, that's great. It's great.
Anyway, so I'd like to thank you for coming on today. This sounds like a great event. I really hope that you get a lot of support out of this, because it sounds like it is your main source of revenue here. So I encourage everybody to sign up. Again, this event will be on Saturday the 19th. Please sign up as soon as you can. And it sounds like there'll be some swag and stuff that you can get as well.
Don't want to miss that Purple Passion swag, I'll tell you.
All right.
And Michael, I'd just like to close by saying we represent 14 cities and towns in the Metro West, including large cities like Framingham and Marlborough. We're the only agency that's doing this work in those cities and towns. So if we weren't here, there'd be nobody for these victims. So it's super important that we're able to continue and serve the people who are suffering in those 14 cities and towns. So I'm really grateful for anything anybody can do, even if it's a small donation, a large donation. If you can't participate, whatever you can do, we are so grateful for, because this is how you support your community, and our sponsors. I can't help but mention them. They've been really supportive this year. All our sponsors from last year signed up again. It wasn't a hard ask. Middlesex Savings Bank is our lead sponsor, and it's just it's been really heartwarming to see how people have come together to support us and help us get this work done in their neighborhoods. That's
great. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show today. I wish you luck with your event. I hope it doesn't rain or anything for the people involved. And again, the URL is, pull it up one more time here. It's the Voices at purplepassion5k.org.
Right, so, voices.purplepassion5k.org.
Yep, voices. Right. Yes, all right. All right, well, anyways, thank you for coming on the show as a guest. I've got to close it out now. Thanks.
Absolutely, thanks.
Yep, and thanks for everybody for watching at home, and tune in next week for more focus on Framingham.